and welcome to my GAMMANS YouTube channel. This is the second video I'm doing since signing with my publisher De Montfort, and I'm basically going to take you through the entire process of me painting one of my seascapes. So I start with a few lines on the canvas, which is going to show how the composition is going to come around and how it develops from just very simple indications of where things are going to go. So you'll see all of that. I've sped it up, obviously, because it did take me longer than the length of the video, so it's very fast. But yeah, you can see my process, and if you guys have any questions, please write them in the comment section of this video, and I will do my very best to answer them next time I do a video. If you do like what you see, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be amazing, and most importantly, enjoy the video, and thank you for watching. So I started off here with the outline of the painting, and that includes the horizon line, which runs horizontally along the piece, and then the outline of the hills. And I'm basically using my fingers to kind of smudge the background colour of the sunset, and that's going to form the backing to everything else. I'm now putting in the colour of the water, which is going to form the basis for the reflections. So as you can see, this kind of stretches along the entire space of the canvas, and I just build up the colour really kind of just very shallow colour. I haven't done it deep at all because it's, as I said, it's a background colour. It gets, as you'll notice, progressively darker as the colour moves away from the centre of the piece. So where the sunset's going to form between the hills, the water is kind of going to be really light blue. And then as I get away from that, it's going to become a lot darker as the shadows start to creep in and the light becomes less vivid. As the colour changes, as I've said, and the shadows creep in, it's going to become more purple than it is turquoise. So I really work that colour all the way to the bottom, and that gives me a clear idea of what I'm working with in terms of a background, and just kind of giving that sort of 3D effect of shading, manual shading, using colour and tone. And I'm now marking out the foreground area and sort of filling it in with these sort of light peachy kind of colours and these grassy organic tones, which help it to kind of look more like the kind of beachy landscape that I'm going for. The darker colours which I'm putting in now, the blacks at the bottom, is going to help to raise the fixture at the bottom, so it kind of looks more 3D and as if it's sort of kind of the dark kind of shadowy murky water bits at the bottom. So I'm kind of using that darkness to also underline the bit that sort of stretches out into water. Again, that is to create shadow and depth and a kind of 3D effect that you can see there. I've sort of tied in a lot of browns and kind of more warmer tones as well here, and that is to tie in the painting with the background, which is the sunset colour, which is very kind of bright and pink. And the aim is basically for all those colours to kind of tie in together. I'm now just working on the lines and shapes below the mountains that are really going to help to shape the image and bring the eye into the centre of the painting, or not quite the centre actually, but where the sunset is the focal point. And the way that this happens is because, as you can see, the lines are sort of shaped diagonally. They draw the eye in. It's almost like a line that's like, oh, look at this sunset, this is pretty, this is the focal point, and that's what's happening there. So I'm kind of making it more obvious that that's where the eye should be looking, and almost framing that kind of real burst of sunset, which is the main element of the piece. I'm now working on the other side, which again is gonna work as a frame to kind of highlight that sunset. Now the clouds are really important here because they also help to direct the eye. They're like kind of big triangles that are saying, oh, look at the sunset, this is the focal point. They're also going to get more shaded as they go further and further away from the light. And the idea is basically just that they look like they are lit up from the centre and sort of fading into the sort of distance behind that. And the trick also is you don't want them to look superimposed, but you also want to make them look textural. So it's finding that balance between them looking too flat and them looking too, like they've just been stuck on. So that can be a bit of a challenge sometimes as well. But you can see me using my hands here to sort of smudge them into the background, and then also using the palette knife to really pick out those areas that I want to use to create texture and just that sort of 3D effect that I was trying to explain before, really. You can also see in the bottom right hand corner I've got those sort of drippy bits coming down, and that's achieved by really sort of diluting the paint with white spirit and getting a paintbrush and kind of just letting the colour drip from the brush all the way and sort of bleed all the way down into the paint and through the canvas, and creates a kind of fun texture and just looks kind of more like it's sort of foliage and more organic, which is kind of an interesting technique that I like to use. Now you can see I'm working on the left hand side of the piece with the other kind of cloud coming in. Now this is a compositional formation that I use quite a lot, with the two clouds sort of overlapping in the middle and then the sun sort of beaming down. And the main reason I do this is because it tends to kind of give the effect of almost like a cross shape. So the clouds come in horizontally, the light spreads out vertically from the center, and it almost gives a sort of a very clear focal point to the piece, and that's something that I think is really, really interesting. So I've been playing around a lot with that recently. You can see now I've started to add to the hills around, and I do that mainly with my palette knife, and I kind of spread the colour, and with a little flick of the wrist you can get it to kind of look 3D and give it texture. And then the build up of this center point, which I'm now working on just below where the light is going to be emanating from, is really important to build that up, because that is where the light is most intense. So I'm doing that with a palette knife and really kind of building up the texture and using a kind of really bright yellow, and that's done with the white paint that I was talking about in my last video that I'm incredibly fond of, the quick dry white oil paint, and that's kind of done adding a tiny bit of yellow ochre to that, and just, yeah, really kind of making it bright, making it textured, making it really, really the focal point. I also use my fingers a lot for this as well, just because to spread out the colour and the light, it almost looks really natural when you use your hands to kind of move it upwards. It gives a sort of dappled effect because your fingers are obviously an uneven surface and the canvas is a little bit rough, so that can look really good. My favourite part is actually the reflections, which you can see me working on now. And the premise of this is just to basically take the colours that I've used for the sky and just completely drag them down into this sort of like reflection, this kind of pool of light at the bottom. And it's really, really important to kind of mirror what's going on in the upper section of the painting with what's going on in the lower section of the painting. So that just kind of requires the eye to keep looking and being aware of the shapes and the contours of the sky in the foreground, and then the reflections as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe.